Hello everyone, I'm Leela Prabhukaukar and I'm from the Buddhi Academy. So today we'll continue with the chapter Indian economy during the year 1950 to 1990, and we'll so last time we have discussed with regards to the types of plan. Then we have also seen what are the different types of economic system: market forces, capitalist, socialist, or the mixed economy. Then we have seen what is a plan. Okay, then also we have seen there are different types of goals of 5-year plans, okay, which includes growth, then it includes modernization, self-reliance, equity. So these are different things what we have discussed. We have also discussed with regards to the land reforms, like uh, so land reforms, which basically it refers to the change in ownership of the land holdings. Then land ceiling, the main concept what we have seen in this chapter. So all these things and the zamindari system we have discussed. Then we had moved to the green revolution, and so now we'll be discussing about trade policy, import substitution. Okay, so the industrial policy that India adopted was closely related to the trade policy. So whatever then the also we have discussed with regards to industrial policy resolution which took place in the year 1956. Okay, so now we'll be learning about trade policy. So the industrial policy that India adopted, now this was related to the trade policy. Okay, so during that 7-year plans, no, trade was characterized by what is commonly called an inward-looking trade strategy. So it is basically, this strategy was called as import substitution. Okay, import substitution, and this policy aimed at replacing or substituting imports with domestic production. So here one example is given. Instead of importing vehicles made in a foreign country, industries would encourage to produce them in India itself. So instead of importing the goods, or instead of producing the importing the vehicles from the foreign, what government decided is to just produce them in the domestic country. Okay, so it will be produced only in India. So in this policy, the government protected the domestic industries from foreign competition. So this is how the foreign competition, they think that it can be reduced. So protection from imports took two forms. So first one is tariff and quotas. Okay, so tariff and quotas. So protection from imports took two forms, tariff and quotas. So tariff are a tax on imported goods. So tariff, this is tax on imported goods. Tariff are tax on imported goods, and they make imported goods more expensive and discourage their use. Then quotas is quotas specify the quantity of goods which can be imported. So quotas, it tells us, mentions the quantity of goods. Okay, specifies the quotas specify the quantity of goods. So the effect of tariff and quotas is that they restrict imports and therefore protect the domestic firms from foreign competition. The policy of protection was based on notion that industries of developing countries were not in a position to compete against the good produced by more developed economies. And it was assumed that if the domestic industries were protected, they would learn to compete in the course of time. So what they did is, their plans were also feared the possibility of foreign exchange being spent on import and the luxury goods. So they were like, if India is not producing any goods in its domestic territory, then they have to pay more, and they have to import more goods. Okay, so this is going to affect the revenues of the Indian government. So So that was one of the threat for them. Okay. So nor was any serious thought given to promote export till the mid 1980s. Then effect of policies on industrial development. So the achievement of India's industrial sector during the first 7 plans are impressive. So what here they are discussing, they have discussed about the GDP, which is contributed by the industrial sector. So during that time, industrial sector GDP has increased from the period from 1950 to 1951, okay, from 13 to 24%. Then the rise in the industry share of GDP is an import indicator of development, and the 6% annual growth rate of the industrial sector during the period is commendable. No longer was Indian industry restricted largely to cotton, textile, and jute. So earlier they were only producing the cotton, textile, and jute, but now it is shifted, and it is well diversified during the year 1990. So this is due to the public sector enterprise, and even the promotion of small scale industries were being done. So this gave the common people the opportunity, okay, to start the business, or because small scale industries, the government promoted the small scale industries and they got the subsidies, and even the tax benefits were given. So protection from foreign competition enabled the development of indigenous industries in the area of electronics and automobile sector, which otherwise could not have developed. So in spite of contribution made by the public sector to the growth of Indian economy, some economists are critical of the performance of many public sector enterprise. And it was proposed at the beginning of this chapter that initially public sector was required in a big way. Now it is widely that the state enterprise, they continue to produce certain goods and services. Okay. Next example is the provision of telecommunication service. So this industry continued to be reserved for the public sector even after it was realized that private sector firms could provide it. Due to the absence of competition even till the late 1990s, one had to wait for a long period of time. So another instance could be the establishment of modern bread, then a bread manufacturing firm, as if the private sector could not manufacture it. But then here what was the major point was that what the public sector alone can do and what the private sector can also do. Okay, example, now only the public sector supplies national defense, and even though the private sector can manage hotels and yet also the government can runs the hotel. So this has led some scholars to agree that the state should get out of areas which the private sector can manage, and what they are telling is that government should only focus on the important services, okay, which a private sector cannot provide. So these were the issues. So many public sector firms incurred a huge losses but continued to function because it is difficult to close a government undertaking, right? So even if it is drain on the nation's limited resources. This does not mean that private firms are always profitable, but quite a few of the public sector firms were originally private firms which were on the verge of closure due to losses. So loss-making private firms will not waste resources by being kept running despite the losses. So the need to obtain a license to start an industry was misused by industrial houses. A big industrialist will get a license not for starting a new firm but to prevent competitors from starting the new firm. So what it is the excessive regulation of what came to be they permitted the license and which prevented certain firms from becoming more efficient. So there was more time was spent by industrialists in trying to obtain a license or lobby with the concerned ministries rather than on thinking about how to improve their products. Then the protection from foreign competition, this was also criticized on the ground that it continued even after it proved to do more harm than good. But here what a government did is due to they have already put a restrictions on the import, so that Indian consumer had to purchase whatever the Indian farmers had produced. So the farmers, the producers, they were aware that they had a captive market, so they had no incentive to improve the quality of their goods. So a few economics they also pointed out that public sector is not for earning profit, but it is to provide a welfare for the nation. So the public sector firms on this view should be evaluated on the basis of extent to which they contribute to the welfare of people and not on the profit they earn. So regarding the protection, some economists told that we should protect our producers from foreign competition as long as the rich nation continue to do so. Now, economics call this for a change in our policy, and that's why we have economics reform, which took place in the year 1991. Okay, so the conclusion of this topic, it says that the progress of the Indian economy during the first 7-year plans was impressive. So industries they became far more diversified compared to the situation at independence. India they become self-sufficient in food production, and because of the green revolution which took place. Then land reforms also, they abolished the zamindari system. Then in industrial sector, there were many economists, as they said, public sector enterprises should only focus on giving the by giving the welfare to the society. So these were also the economics point of view. Excessive government regulation prevented growth of entrepreneurship in the name of self-reliance. The Indian producers they protected they were protected against the foreign competition because those imports were restricted, no, and this did not give them the incentive to improve the quality of goods what they produce. So Indian policies were inward oriented that failed to develop a strong export sector. And the need for reform of economic policies, this was widely felt in the context of changing global economic scenario. Okay, so this is what the chapter Indian economy during the year 1950 to 1990 was. And here we have seen different types of economic system: capitalist, socialist, and the mixed economy. Okay, so thank you for watching my video.